各位傳媒朋友，早晨！多謝大家今日出席今日嘅記者會。稍後行政長官會先有一個嘅開場發言，然後接受大家嘅提問。由於疫情關係啦，咁請大家喺記者會入邊啦都盡量保持距離。依家我哋首先有請行政長官發言。
各位傳媒朋友，各位香港市民嚇，今早咧係簡單同大家交代下有3點嘅。第一咧就係上個禮拜5我公布咗防疫抗疫基金嘅第5輪，咁啊今次嘅重點希望能夠快嚇，快嘅意思即係話我哋能夠第一時間咧將補貼嘅金額咧係交俾受今次新一輪嘅社交距離措施影響嘅處所同埋個人。咁可以喺呢度同大家匯報咧，就係一共有27項嘅支援嘅措施啦，其中16項已經喺過去幾日，即係包括當日星期5晚啦，琴日咧就係由相關嘅政策局同埋部門咧係公布咗詳情，咁包括亦都係接受咗邀請㗎啦。咁我亦都要求有關嘅部門嘅同事咧係爭取係喺農曆新年之前咧，能夠發放部分嘅金額。當然，如果冇申請，我哋冇辦法發放啦。但係只要接受咗申請，我哋係唔需要等到個申請期結束先至一併發放嘅。因為今次嗰個合資格嘅要求都係好一般嚇，同我哋以前做嘅亦都係差唔多。咁只要合資格嘅處所嘅營運人士咧係提出申請咧，我哋就會盡快咧係審批同埋係交付呢個資助金額。第二個同大家講咧，就係因為亦都係喺上個禮拜5公佈咗，如果去到年初4，即係新一輪嘅社交距離措施結束之後，我哋審視情況係可以開放翻一啲處所或者係晚市堂食咧。屆時都係以疫苗氣泡為基礎，即係話提早將原本喺2月24日我哋落實嘅疫苗氣泡咧，係提早令到某一啲嘅處所啦可以提早嚟到去營業。咁呢啲嘅呼籲咧，相信都有一啲嘅作用嘅。咁所以呢一排咧，我諗都係過去10日8日咧，嗰個市民打針嘅意欲又係增強咗。差唔多每日都可以做到我當時同大家嘅假設同埋估算。如果每一日嘅打第一針咧能夠達到2萬人咧，其實去到2月24號咧，我哋都有8成多，甚至接近9成嘅人咧係符合疫苗氣泡㗎啦，因為打咗第一針。咁以琴日為例咧，就都打到接近18000針度嘅嚇，17000多針第一針。整體嘅情況咧都係超過4萬針係打到嘅，咁包括更加多人咧係願意去接受第3針呢個加強劑啦。咁我哋亦都係先後公布咗有關於小朋友亦都可以接種疫苗嗰個安排啦。咁所以相比於大概半個月前咧，而家長者嘅接種率都係慢慢提升嘅。譬如70到79歲咧已經過咗一半，係55.39%，而80歲及以上往時真係好艱難嘅，停留喺一個好低嘅水平咧，而家都係去到27%，即係話3成在望啦。咁所以喺度呼籲未打針嘅市民咧，必須要爭取呢個時間咧嚟到去打針。其中一個原因咧就係我哋仍然係有好多風險喺度嘅。所以我最新今朝我都收到回報咧，我哋而家擔心2個群組嘅喺香港嘅社區嘅傳播。第一個咧就係呢個酒店，呢間海景私家酒店，就一位返港嘅女士咧，睇嚟可能喺酒店裏邊感染得到，但係個傳播力都好強嘅。咁所以今日稍後衛生防護中心會公布咧，就係昨日佢其實已經提早咗講俾大家聽咧，有接近9個嘅初步確診個案都係同呢個喺酒店個案有關嘅。另一個咧就係呢間寵物店嚇，一個售貨員喺銅鑼灣嘅寵物店咧，係售貨員係確診，而且當我哋而家擔心嘅係 Omicron，我頭先講嘅酒店個案咧都係 Omicron， 但係呢個寵物店售貨員嘅感染病毒株咧係 Delta 嚟嘅嚇。 咁所以就更加擔心咧，同時間喺香港咧，可能兩隻嘅變異病毒株咧都係有傳播嘅風險。咁呢個寵物店嘅風險咧，就係因為佢涉及係動物。咁而且據我哋所知咧，同一個嘅鋪頭咧，佢係有全港九有多達10幾間呢啲分店嘅。咁所以昨天已經做咗大量嘅工作，有關於嗰個動物嗰方面。咁而家睇嚟咧係有擔心嘅。咁所以今日稍後咧，我都希望我哋爭取早啲時間咧，就由食物及衛生局局長聯同漁農自然護理署署長咧，要同大家交代喺過去一日就住寵物店嘅調查咧，有啲咩最新嘅發現，等到市民咧可以提高警覺嚇。大致上最新嘅發展係呢幾方面，睇下大家有咩提問。
依家係提問時間，想提問嘅記者朋友啦，請先舉手，嗌到你嘅時候啦，請講出你嘅傳媒機構名稱，然後用我哋俾你嘅咪啦去發言。右手邊前排嗰位女記者，係呢位啊。
早晨，林太 TVB 嘅，想問下咧，即係其實防疫抗疫基金啦，好多業界咧都對個金額都感到失望啦，話少到可能圍唔到本啊。佢其實會唔會加碼咧，或者有其他措施去幫相關嘅行業咧？咁同埋咧，即係其實都有基層勞工咧就話手停口停，好難去過呢個年關。咁啊，有人就話增設呢個失業就業困難援助金，或者會唔會有其他措施去幫翻啲基層咧？咁另外就係國泰客機去貨機返啦，同埋13個官員出席洪為民生日派對嘅紀律調查咧，外界就有聲音咧，真係覺得係用調查去做一個拖字訣。咁其實特首會唔會話兩個調查個進度係點樣呢？同埋幾時同市民交代呢？唔該。
一系列嘅問題。第一咧就係正如我頭先所講，我哋喺上個禮拜五公布係需要延長社交距離措施，由原本係2個星期咧，再增加2個星期，就橫跨咗個農曆新年。咁所以亦都係同日已經公布咧，就係透過喺防疫抗疫基金而家剩餘嘅40多億嗰度咧，我哋盡量係撥出嚟到去設計呢個防疫抗疫基金5.0嚇。有啲人將佢同4.0嘅金額比較，但其實4.0嘅時候處所受嘅影響係一段好長嘅時間。禁堂食咧，起碼都禁咗1-2個月㗎啦嚇。咁至於有啲處所咧，根本係閂咗1年幾，唔係1年嘅100幾日嚇。令到稍後咧要為咗呢啲長期關閉嘅處所咧，再做咗一次嘅補貼，不過就冇叫佢做抗疫基金5.0嘅啫嚇。咁所以我哋嘅睇法就係，當然我哋會睇住嗰個疫情嘅變化，同埋呢啲防疫抗疫措施、社交距離措施對於處所嘅影響，對於營運者，對於直接受關閉處所嘅個人嘅影響咧，而提供一啲支援。但係每一次呢啲支援咧，都冇辦法完全可以滿足到業界嘅要求，亦都係冇辦法可以完全彌補到業界認為佢嘅喺業務上嘅損失。咁呢個正正就係點解大家要全民抗疫啊嘛。因為每一次疫情爆發咧，影響嘅人都係好多，影響嘅經濟嘅活動亦都好多嚇，係難以可以完全可以彌補得到。事實上，越嚟越多業界嘅聲音咧，就係與其又要支援啊補助，不如早啲開返啦嚇。咁啊早啲開返就要有條件，咁就係所以點解咧？大家要支持我哋嘅抗疫工作啦，無論喺檢測檢疫。或者係打針嗰方面嚇，但係我哋一定會密切留意嘅情況，尤其是而家大家都知道係咩時候，就係1年1度嘅財政預算案進行緊諮詢，而財政預算案正正就係每一年事實上呢幾年都係一個愛嚟利民紓困嘅機會。咁所以呢啲頭先你提到具體或者一般嘅支援嘅睇法咧，都係留待財政司司長咧喺財政預算案嗰度去處理嚇。當然我相信財政司司長會徵詢我意見啦，我亦都會按住實際嘅情況咧，就係俾我嘅睇法司長考慮嘅。跟住嗰2個問題就係關於調查，有關於國泰航空公司嘅違規嘅工作咧。第一就係昨天我哋已經就住2個前啦嚇，因為佢已經離開國泰公司啦。呢啲前嘅機艙嘅服務員係懷疑有證據係證明佢係違反咗預防及控制疾病嘅規例，即係第599A 嘅章嘅規例咧，就已經係會檢控佢啦。咁呢個違反嘅規例咧，就係呢兩位前嘅機艙嘅服務員咧，係應該係受到一個衛生主任嘅要求寫咗落嚟，佢要接受呢個嘅醫學嘅監察，要符合一啲嘅要求，但係咧就佢冇符合到啦嚇，咁所以咧我哋就提出呢個檢控嚇，咁呢個係做咗嘅一部分嘅調查同埋跟進嘅工作。另一方面咧就有關於國泰航空公司，因為呢兩位機組嘅服務員咧係用某一種叫做客機去，然後咧就係嗰架機係貨機翻。儘管嗰架飛機本身係去嗰架嘅客機嚟嘅，不過由於冇客，咁所以近年咧呢一兩年係好多時候用一架本來係載客嘅客機咧，我嚟載貨，因為大家知道佢個機艙咧係可以載貨嘅嚇。咁呢一種嘅安排係有冇符合到政府嘅要求？有冇違反咗我哋同國泰航空公司就住貨機同埋貨運作嘅豁免嘅安排咧？呢個而家正係調查，因為呢個調查要非常之審慎嘅嚇，因為有好多嘅文書嘅往來啦，咁所以呢個調查未完成，但係一完成咧，我哋一定會採取適當嘅行動啦，亦都會向公眾嚟到去交代。至於官員嗰方面咧，就事實上一共係15位嚇，更新嘅數字一共係15位，包括正在退休前休假嘅前海關關長，一共係15位嚇。咁大家都知道咧，喺檢疫嗰幾位咧，昨晚已經係離開檢疫中心啦，因為衛生防護中心咧係修訂咗佢哋嘅檢疫嘅期間嘅要求嚇。咁但係我都係同其他嗰11位一樣咧，係要求佢哋咧都係放自己假喺屋企咧嚟到去隔離啦，就只係出去做檢測，盡量就唔好離開處所啦嚇。咁直至到佢哋完成咗衛生防護中心要求嘅最後一次檢測係陰性，最後一次檢測咧就係第19天，咁咧就應該係1月22日。咁所以對於頭嗰11位，佢喺1月22日做完一檢測，係攞到陰性嘅結果咧，佢可以恢復返工履職。但對於呢幾位喺檢疫中心出嚟咧，因為衛生防護中心喺安排佢哋離營嘅時候，又有一個安排咧，就叫7天。咁呢個7天嘅結束咧，應該係1月24日嚇。咁所以睇嚟最早佢哋可以復職咧，恢復返工咧，都係1月24日後，係當日嘅下午，抑或係第二朝咧？呢個我都唔知道，因為要睇下衛生防護中心嗰個時間嗰度個係到幾時咧完結咗呢7天嘅自我監測期嚇。但係同樣嗰個調查咧係進行緊，一如我上個禮拜講啦，調查如果係完結咗咧，我一定係向公眾交代，可以同各位保證咧，無論係國泰公司嘅調查，或者係特區政府官員就住出席呢個宴會嘅調查咧，係不會不了了之嘅，因為社會係需要知道嗰個事實嚇。我亦都要對於無論係一間企業或者我自己嘅同事咧，係公道。究竟發生咗咩事咧？係要向公眾嚟到去交代。但係去到呢一刻咧，有關嘅調查並未完成。多謝。
下一條提問。白色衫嗰位男記者。
特首你好，中評社。有專家認為唯有全民檢測先能夠揾出呢啲潛在感染者啦。真正有效咁截斷呢啲傳播鏈。想問下特首，下一步係都會採取邊啲措施截斷呢啲傳播鏈，同埋會唔會推行呢個全民檢測 ？Thank you。
我諗大家要掌握得更加清楚，究竟當我哋話要做病毒檢測係乜嘢模式嘅病毒檢測？到今日為止，我哋嘅專家，即係包括行政長官嘅專家同埋衛生署嘅專家咧，佢哋都冇係提出要特區政府進行全民嘅檢測。全民檢測即係一段時間裏邊要完成或者安排全港嘅市民去做病毒檢測。咁如果全港市民700幾萬咧，就要做700幾萬嘅檢測。 而且以國內嘅經驗咧，呢一種嘅檢測最有效咧係一定要聯同係禁足令嘅，即係話嗰啲人喺等全民檢測嘅時候唔能夠周街走啊嘛，係咪？呢個你應該都好掌握嚇。咁所以香港我哋除咗喺每晚有啲小區或者大廈要做呢個強制圍封限制區域嘅檢測咧，我哋冇禁足嘅，我哋從來都冇禁止香港市民出外。2年我哋都可以即係安排到。一方面咧，我哋抗疫；一方面盡量俾香港市民咧可以返工返學，做正常嘅活動。咁所以呢一種嘅要禁足嘅全民檢測咧，恐怕喺香港唔係一個好適合嘅方法，亦都未必受到市民可以接受得到。但係近日由於出現咗呢啲本地嘅確診個案，尤其是 Omicron 呢個傳播力極高嘅變異病毒株咧，我哋進行嘅係大規模檢測。嗱，呢個亦都係有1、2個專家就話，你睇到嘅情況擔心，咪做大規模啲啦。咁包括喺屯門區咧係願檢盡檢，即係話唔需要佢係收到一個強制嘅檢測令啦，亦都唔需要話收到安心出行通知佢曾經去過有人確診嘅地方，只要佢願意就可以免費獲得檢測。咁呢個就係一個規模比較大嘅病毒檢測。咁所以往後咧，我哋都會係隨住呢一種方法，係好聚焦咁樣去做呢個病毒檢測，從而可以更加有效咁揾到一啲感染或者確診嘅個案，然後將佢隔離檢疫，減少到喺社區嗰個傳播嘅風險。事實上，今次 Omicron 嘅入侵咧，證明呢一種嘅做法咧係有成效嘅。等於我都多次強調咧，到而家為止喺本地感染嘅 Omicron 嘅個案咧，就係6、7成都係喺檢疫中心揾到，即係揾到嘅時候唔係揾到，即係佢感染出嚟即係陽性嘅時候咧，其實已經喺檢疫中心嗰度俾我哋檢疫緊，從而佢喺社區嘅活動咧就大大減少。呢個係香港用嘅做法。既然係一個都係有效嘅做法，隨便去採取另一種未實踐過嘅做法咧，係我覺得係比較唔係好妥當嚇。咁所以我哋會繼續用呢個方法嚟到去嚴控呢個疫情嘅擴散。
今日最後一條問題，右邊前排黑色衫嗰個女記者，呢位。
Thank you. A few questions from TMHK. So the first question is about Dr. Gabriel Leung's advice, because he was saying, I think earlier last week, that the government can consider rolling out allowing nighttime dining again until 8 p.m. Is this something the authorities can or is considering? And secondly, about the arrangement you just announced that the vaccine bubble will be rolled out earlier. So are you concerned long queues outside the vaccination centers will emerge again, like what we saw earlier this month? And have you discussed the arrangement with sectors involved, including, for example, the catering industry? Can they cope with this arrangement? Because this arrangement has been amended time and again. Thank you.
Of course, Professor Gabriel Leung is one of my expert advisors, and the University of Hong Kong has been commissioned by us to do a weekly assessment on the situation. But at the moment, since we have implemented the social distancing measures, including the restriction of dine-in in restaurants until the 3rd of February, there is no plan to relax this particular measure. Especially, you have heard me reporting on 2 local clusters which are of concern. One is the quarantine hotel, which has led to, of course, the quarantine woman in the hotel plus 9 relatives or close relatives. The other is the pet shop cluster, which we are very worried. So for the time being, we have no plan to relax what we have already announced for implementation. But going forward, of course, we will adjust our measures. If we were to allow dining again, whether it will be back to the pre-Omicron situation, which is very relaxed, or we would adopt other means, this is something that we will certainly consider. And that brings me to answering your second question. One of the arrangements that we could consider after this round of social distancing is to allow businesses to operate under a vaccine bubble. In other words, staff and customers could only go into that prescribed premise after they have been vaccinated. As a result of that suggestion, of course, we are already seeing an increase. I wouldn't describe it as a surge, but an increase in vaccinations amongst the population, especially amongst the older population, which is to be welcome. Since we have been talking about this vaccine bubble for some time, and meanwhile we have been enhancing the capacity of our vaccination centers, I'm not worried about the capacity constraint leading to long queues. In fact, at the moment, we are doing about 40,000 doses every day, but our capacity far exceeds the 40,000. But I would advise members of the public to try to book for an appointment to get vaccinated and leave the so-called daily quota for the elderly who find it less easy to book online. Now, about adopting vaccine bubble for an earlier resumption of business, we will certainly listen to what the sector has to say. But in fact, the idea was volunteered by the trade. When they heard that we might be imposing more social distancing measures, I heard the trade, including the restaurant trade and the beauty parlor trade, they actually volunteered that why didn't the government allow us to operate on the basis of vaccine bubble? We could ask our customers to get vaccinated before offering them the service. But in the next 2 weeks or so, we will continue to engage them and see whether we come up with more acceptable arrangements that will give us the assurance on fighting the epidemic, but at the moment allowing the business to operate. I fully understand their grievances and their hardship. We try to help through the AEF 5.0, and we will continue to closely monitor the situation and consider other means of support as and when necessary. 多謝大家。
今日記者會完結，多謝大家。